Every deck is made for standing on, but there's only one that's always had a way of standing out. So if you're looking to bring more style, comfort, and creativity to your life outdoors, call on the brand that's known for making the most in outdoor living. From decking, railing, and lighting to furniture, fencing, and framing, at Trex, we're engineering what's next in outdoor living. To learn more about all of the outdoor solutions Trex has to offer, call 1-800-289-TREX or visit Trex.com. That's TREX.com.
Great to have you with us here on Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. I'm Adnan Virk in for Trey. Always good to be with Golic. We're presented by Progressive Insurance and all of our phone guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line.
So it's Boston Marathon Day, and certainly a lot of meaning to that outside of just a huge marathon, but 5 years in a day since the tragedy there at the bomb going off at the finish line, and just that horrific experience. But here we are again, another Boston Marathon. I've been seeing stories of the survivors and where they are now. There have been some incredible stories going along those lines, and then just such a great marathon to run. It's just a shame they got such a horrible, horrible day. It's a nice weekend, but now the Northeast here hit with like freezing rain. It's high 30s, low 40s, pouring rain now in Boston. So that's a shame for them. Our own Field Yates was supposed to run in this. He and his fiance, he hurt his knee. Which is such a bummer because I saw my wife do all the training she had to do for the New York City Marathon.
When did Chris run that marathon?
In 2016.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And so to see all that training and then you can't get the fulfillment of running in that marathon. I feel for him, but his fiance is going to run it. Obviously, he'll be there supporting her. I would never think of running a marathon at all. You?
No, I couldn't
thought
do it
at all.
I think at one point in my life, maybe I would have thought, "Hey, that's pretty cool to put on the resume." But the amount of work you've got to put in the training, Mike, it's
unreal. What I would see her go through on Saturday, say, "Yeah, I got a 22-mile run." As part of the training, I'm like. Here's this 22 miles. Meet me at the Harbors where we have breakfast. I'll be there on my third breakfast, as you're doing that. Now, Stanczyk's our runner.
Yeah, noted marathon runner.
How many marathons have you run, Dan?
I have run 2.
2 marathons.
New York City Marathon.
New York City this year and Hartford in 2014.
So are you up to do another one? I mean, my wife ran it once. She said, never again.
Yeah, every time I do one, I'm always asked, and I say no at the time, and then I'm like, in a few years, I'll probably do another
You do it again. She said she'll do half marathon because she goes, when I hit like 13 miles, she said, wouldn't it be great if I was done right now?
Oh my God.
Didn't have another 13 miles to go. So the training looks incredible for that. And now you have to run it in the rain. I mean, that's just it's got to be brutal.
Having said that, though, with that type of adversity, those types of challenges overcome, I don't know if anything can match that euphoria of crossing that finish line. Think about great relieves in your life when you're like, oh man, I've been relieved to whatever stress you had or whatever issue you're dealing with.
Yeah.
That relief when you cross that finish line must be ecstasy.
It's almost like when I'm just about to finish that appetizer and another donut is put on the table. I'm like, whew, thank God I didn't have to go too long without that donut.
When you eat the entire cheesecake and go, man, I'm glad I didn't leave any of that there.
Woo, yeah. I get it, so I get their pain.
No, I'm glad that you can sympathize. All right, here is what's trending. By the way, this hour of Golic and Wingo brought to you by La Quinta Inns and Suites. Book at LQ.com and win at business. Timmy Kurkjian going to join us about 7 minutes from now. Talk a little baseball. Bartolo Colon, by the way, was unbelievable yesterday. Had a perfect game through 7. But in the NBA, Mike, the Pacers beat the Cavs 98-80 to snap LeBron James' streak of 21 consecutive first-round wins, which was the longest streak by any player under the current playoff format since 1984. First time his team has trailed in a first-round series at any point.
Yeah, first and foremost, you give a tip of the cap to the Pacers and what they were able to do. Victor Oladipo was just absolutely on fire, 6 of 9 from three-point land, 11 of 19 overall, scoring 32 points. So he was a monster for a team that, again, the nation didn't get to see a lot. They were on national TV just one time this year. Had a monster first game here. They were suffocating on defense as well, and we know Cleveland isn't very good defensively. LeBron did have the triple-double, but he really was making all of his shots in the restricted area. Wasn't in his jumpers, got to the free throw line a bunch, and had no help from anybody. Kevin Love only had 8 shots in this game. He needs more. Somebody else has got to be able to pick up the slack. It was J.R. Smith, actually, coming off the bench yesterday with 15 points, hitting 3 of his 6 threes. So they're going to need to come out with a whole lot more aggression against a team that really came and let's be honest, the Pacers came out and punched them right in the nose. Punched the Cavaliers right in the nose, and the Cavs never recovered. The Pacers never trailed in this game.
And that's where maybe it shouldn't be as stunning because the Pacers played great against them in the regular season series. This is a 4-5 matchup if you care about seeding, so it's not like it's a 1 versus 8. This is obviously a weakened Cleveland team from what we've seen in the past, but still, to lose by 18 at home, that was stunning to me. Greg Popovich says the Spurs are still waiting for Kawhi Leonard's medical team to clear him. San Antonio lost the Golden State Warriors in Game 1 on Saturday. That was not a contest. The Warriors were all over them. But Popovich reiterated the next step in getting Leonard back in the game rests with the forward's medical team. A source telling ESPN's Michael C. Wright the Spurs don't expect Leonard back at any point during the postseason. He has harbored that belief since the week after the All-Star break. What a maddening situation.
Oh, horrible. And Popovich, who normally answers a question and sometimes, to the point of a little, it's a little much for me, but it's kind of known as the Popovich way at this point. He actually avoided answering questions on whether it would be helpful if Leonard were there with the team, supporting the team through the playoffs, and he kind of walked around that a little bit, but overall basically said, hey, not up to me, not up to us. Players are allowed to go get a second opinion. He has his group out there, his medical group, and he's not going to do anything until that group says he's good to go.
So obviously the Spurs are really in tough against the Golden State Warriors without Kawhi Leonard. Even with him, I think it'd be a challenge. And just for our boy Cliff, Temple University, interesting jersey change in their spring game. Saturday's cherry and white game included Twitter handles on the back of the jerseys. We've seen programs grow increasingly aware of social media presence. USC and Stanford, 2 programs who put their players' handles on the depth chart for games. And Clemson to Texas to Washington, maybe they'll be mentioning their players on bigger accounts. It says simply on their name. This all stems to me back from the XFL. Rod Smith, he hates
Very cool. Well, listen, Jeff Collins, my son and I did a Temple game, and they were a lot of fun to do. And I think it was when the player got a turnover, they would put their handle on a whiteboard on their Twitter handle on the sideline. It was very cool. And what else is very cool? They're nice enough to send us jerseys. They're sending Trey and I jerseys with our Twitter handle, the Golic and Wingo Twitter handle. And Cliff is getting one
Philly's
with his Twitter handle as well. But that's cool. Listen, you know what that is? That's just being aware of the sign of the times, man. I mean, unless you're a program that says, guys, don't go on social media. We don't want you, which is so hard to do. And it is a tough thing to do. So the other side of that is to really try and warn and explain the dangers, the possibilities that could lie out there for 18 to 22-year-olds in a Twitter-filled world of just how difficult it could be. They're embracing it, and, hopefully players don't overstep, in this. But I like the fact that they're doing this and having the fun with it in the spring and putting it on the jerseys, and other programs are doing it on the depth charts. I think, embrace it. Let's not fight it. It's here, because, in all honesty, I'm so done with the coaches. Oh, I don't know what the snap face and all this stuff. I don't. You know what? You're not cool. They think they're cool by saying, "I don't know this." No,
you sound like a grumpy curmudgeon
you really
who's past his prime. Yeah. Well, I think this thing, I respect people who say they don't do social media. They find it to be a negative distraction. But honestly, I don't know how you can't in this day and age. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is, you've got to be a part of it because that's where so many people are consuming information, especially young kids and all those young athletes out there. So good on Temple for doing that. Adnan Virk in for Trey. It's Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. Before we bring in Tim Kurkjian, I want to talk a little bit of baseball here, and Bartolo Colon.
Oh, my gosh.
He turns 45 next month, and last night I'm watching the NBA playoffs. I'm watch the Rockets, T-Wolves, Minnesota's hanging in there. I'm watching hockey because the Washington Capitals, they lose in overtime. Sergei Bobrovsky was unbelievable for Columbus, 54 saves. Now the Caps, same old story, Mike. They're now down 0-2, and this time at home they lose.
But blowing, 2-goal leads as well.
Right, just crippling to see that. And then Big Bart was unbelievable. Leadoff walk to Carlos Correa and a Josh Reddick double ended the bid by Cologne, who would have become the oldest pitcher to throw a no-hitter. Honestly, it was amazing to see, and John Shambi was a part of it, calling the game for ESPN Radio.
The 1-1, rip center field. Tochi back, and right there makes the catch. How do you like that? 44-year-old Bartolo Colon, perfect through 7.
Yeah, Boog was setting the scene all night long with Chris Singleton.
Incredible. 83 pitches, 59 for strikes, entering the 8th inning. As you mentioned, gave up the walk and then the double, ends up getting a no decision. The Rangers do get the win, though, but the only thing missing was to see the big man in the batter's box, which you didn't have to do here.
Not quite the joy of Bart going deep, but honestly, I'm with you, Mike. It was awesome to see if you love baseball. And another man who loves baseball, our baseball insider, Tim Kurkjian, joining us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Get the feeling of being rewarded with gold status at Shell with the Fuel Rewards program. Download the Fuel Rewards app, join, and start saving 5 cents a gallon today. Timmy, Bartolo Colon was released by the Rangers on March 24th. He's re-signed 2 days later, and last night on our airwaves on Sunday Night Baseball, he almost pulled off the nearly impossible. What were you thinking watching it?
Well, it would have been one of the coolest things we've ever seen. As you said, he would have been the oldest guy ever to do that. Nolan Ryan was a similar age, but he doesn't throw like he didn't throw like Bartolo Colon does. Now he doesn't look like Bartolo Colon, but just another reminder of the beauty of baseball. It comes in all shapes and sizes. And here's a guy who throws basically all fastballs and says to people, go ahead, try to hit this, but you have no idea what quadrant it's going to. And I changed speeds off of it. And that's why he's had such a remarkable career and still going at 44. Amazing.
Shapes and sizes, a key term there. I really enjoyed that. Nolan Ryan, by the way, threw a record 7 no-hitters. He threw one in 1991. He was 44 years and 90 days old. So, yeah, Bartolo Colon would have been the oldest to do that. All right, Timmy, around the league right now, the early part of the season, but starting to read just clips here and there about more and more guys that are going on the DL for this or DL for that. Where do you think has been the worst effect for this for a team and players that they have lost?
There's so many teams that are being crushed again by injuries this year. And Golic, there's something to this terribly cold weather that is affecting these players. And no excuses, no sympathy necessary, but it's so easy to get injured in a baseball game. And then you turn the temperature down to the 30s, and we have snow and rain and everything else. And that's where some of this is coming from. And it simply is not a well-played game anymore when it's played in this kind of weather. This is nobody's fault, and it's just the way it is in April. But with all these postponements and players not having their bodies in the right rhythm, baseball is very much a rhythm game. They play it every day, and now Twins are going to go 4 or 5 days without playing a game. That's really unhealthy for a baseball team early in a season, and I think that's part of the reason we're seeing as many injuries as we have.
Talk with the great Tim Kurkjian right now on Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio and ESPN News. Timmy, looking at the Mets, NL best 12-2. We knew that with so many of us picking the Nationals to win the NL East, something had to go awry. And so far, the Mets have been that team that's been a surprise. And what's part of the surprise is this: Matt Harvey may get dropped from that rotation. He was a guy who you thought, well, he has to bounce back for them to have some consistency. But instead, Mickey Callaway's done a great job with his bullpen. Gesellman and Lugo have been terrific for them. What have you seen from this Mets team?
Well, their starting rotation has been great, and when you start with DeGrom and Syndergaard in whatever order, and those guys are healthy, you're going to have a chance. That's how dominant those guys have been. And Mickey Callaway, being a former pitcher and a former pitching coach, he knows all about this, and I think he's sent the right message to his pitchers this year. And maybe just as important, their lineup is pretty good right now, with Michael Conforto back way earlier than expected. Healthy Cespedes, added Todd Frazier. That's a pretty good lineup to go with a rotation, especially that can be absolutely dominant. And you're right, the bullpen's been great so far also. I don't think anybody saw this coming with the Mets, but I think we all understood if that great young starting rotation is healthy for the season, they're going to be a contender, and they've been more than that so far.
Yeah, all Met fans are just waiting for the shoe to drop. They're waiting for the one injury after another.
Very fatalistic group of fans.
Oh, my gosh, so much so. All right, Timmy, we sit here and we see the Pirates leading the Central at 11-4, the Diamondbacks leading the West at 11-4. So even with the division taken into consideration as well, which of these teams in your mind has the best chance to actually continue, maybe not at this pace, but as far as where they are in the division right near the top?
Well, I like where the Diamondbacks are, that's for sure, because they made the playoffs last year, and maybe they're even better this year. I think they're going to miss J.D. Martinez, which he was so good after they acquired him, and in September he was ridiculously good. But I could see the Diamondbacks keeping this up for a little while. Their pitching is awfully good right now, and they can score some runs also. And Pittsburgh, look, the Pirates aren't going to the playoffs. I'm pretty sure about that. But I saw them this spring. Their lineup is pretty good, and this isn't a team that just got rid of everyone and they're going to win 60 games this year. They're going to be 500 team, I think, and that's pretty darn good when you're in the process of moving some people around.
Further proof, Tim, we should never take too much stock in spring training statistics. Shohei Ohtani has been the story of this baseball season so far, not only hitting those home runs, but pitching so well. Unfortunately, the start yesterday was postponed, but honestly, I think as a baseball lover like yourself, it's just so great to see this story, because what you always want is new stories and new players to love. And the way the Japanese just embrace baseball, we already knew the media coverage would be off the charts. Now the fact he's already matching those expectations, I mean, how great is this to see Ohtani delivering for the Angels so far?
Let me tell you how good he is at this. He is better at this than anything I have done in my life. He is better at this than anything you will do in your life.
A great reference to Searching for Bobby Fischer from Tim Kurkjian.
Right. That was just for Adnan. The point is, this guy is doing something that really hasn't been done since the times of Babe Ruth. And it would be enormous pressure if he were coming here at 23 just trying to be a pitcher or just trying to be a hitter, and he's doing both of them. It's absolutely amazing in a very small sample how good he's been so far. I saw him in spring training, and the raw tools were obvious. The power, the beautiful swing, the velocity on his fastball, the break on his split, all that stuff is going to play in the big leagues. I just didn't think it would be this good this quickly. He basically is slugging over 600 points higher as a hitter than the league is slugging against him as a pitcher. Those are ridiculous numbers.
There's some great storylines early on in the season in baseball this year. We hope they can continue throughout the season, and certainly a storyline we talk about every year is the meaning of Jackie Robinson to baseball, and Jackie Robinson Day yesterday in Major League Baseball. Talk about that for a moment, Timmy. Just still the reverence that is just held for this man.
Yeah, well, I still hope after all these years we understand how important Jackie Robinson was to baseball and to this country. When baseball finally figured this out, the country went along with it for the most part. So Jackie Robinson wasn't just a baseball player. He was a civil rights activist, and he really changed the game in so many ways. And because of that, I think we forget sometimes how great a player he was, how amazing he was on the base paths, how tremendously athletic he was in every way. And I just remember talking to Frank Robinson about this years ago, and I said, Frank, what did you learn from Jackie Robinson? And Frank, of course, faced hatred and racism in the minor leagues, especially when he first came up. And he said Jackie taught him the same thing. The only way to beat them and the best way to beat them is to go beat them on the field. And he said that was the lesson that Jackie taught all of us. And I don't think he will ever be forgotten, certainly in baseball and in the history of this country.
Yeah, nobody speaks with more reverence for the game than you, Tim, and I echo those sentiments. There's something about Jackie Robinson and Jackie Robinson Day that is so special. One more baseball question for you. Cubs and Yankees, both 7-7. Which start concerns you more?
Neither one of them concerns me, frankly, because it's a long season, and I think both teams will be in the playoffs at the end. And the reason I'm not concerned about the Yankees is all the injuries they've had, and their bullpen has been terrible. And their bullpen is great, but this is baseball, and great bullpens pitch poorly once in a while, and that's been the case, among other things, with the Yankees. I think they'll turn this around and quickly, and so will the Cubs. Cubs have Anthony Rizzo on the DL. Looks like he's coming back hopefully tonight. And I don't think there's much to worry about there. And with either team, if they do have some issues moving forward, they have all the money and all the resources in the world to go fix it with a trade or something else or a minor league system. So both those teams, slow start, not too much to worry about.
Tim Kurkjian is always a blast to hang with when we're talking baseball. But of course, Tim is a Renaissance man. He can discuss many topics. And Tim, we often love to just talk movies. I know you and your wife, Kathy, love 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, but I've never heard your review yet on The Shape of Water. I preface it by saying I love the film. Mike Golic despised the film. You have to weigh in, Timmy. What did you think of it? Did you see it?
No, I haven't seen it. I'm always going to a Reds Pirates game, so I don't get to the movies as often as you do, Adnan. I haven't even seen it yet, but I've heard Golic. I know he hates it, and what a mismatch you and him when it comes to the greatness of movies. It must be hilarious together.
Timmy, I would just say that matchup you always watch, go back and rewatch them all from decades ago if you want to, rather than watch Shape of Water. Pull out any DVD you can.
A movie that I know you have seen, Timmy. R. Lee Ermey passed away. He played the drill instructor in Full Metal Jacket. How great. That first hour of that movie, how powerful he was in that movie, right? Incredible.
It was pretty incredible. It was too intense for me. I can't take stuff like that. It's too hard for me. But I watched it, and I barely got through it because I am so weak. I am so squeamish on things like that.
That was a tough one. I'm with you. That was.
We can all enjoy searching for Bobby Fischer and movies of that ilk. Tim Kurkjian, thanks so much, Timmy.
Thanks, Timmy.
Okay, guys, see you.
All right, great perspective.
I don't think I'll ever watch Shape of Water. Sweet.
Yeah, exactly. But if he was on the fence, he'll go the other way.
Full Metal Jacket, man. That was one of those movies where what a stark difference of the first hour and the second hour of that thing, or the first half and the second half. The second half I thought was awful.
Yes.
Quite honestly.
It was all over the place,
the first
haphazard
half
plotting.
was one of the most, and Timmy's right, intense. I mean, it can be tough to watch. Very intense. And this actor who passed away was a Marine Corps veteran. So, I mean, he fit the bill perfectly for being the drill sergeant here.
Yeah, that's what I always feel like. The best war movies I've seen are like Platoon and Glory, and I've added Dunkirk in that list, a great film, and then Saving Private Ryan, and the first half of Full Metal Jacket. Because R. Lee Ermey, he's just so profane and savagely funny, and incredibly memorable. Like, it's tough to have that dichotomy of being both terrifying and incredibly entertaining, and he's able to do that. And Vincent D'Onofrio, the way he just shell shocks him, people were tweeting out famous lines from the movie.
Oh my God!
Many of them we obviously can't say.
But he's also in Mississippi Burning, Seven, Toy Story. I mean, talk about flipping around a little bit there.
One of the best lines we can say, this is the guy, you're so ugly, you could be a modern art masterpiece.
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing the way he just completely humbles those guys.
What a movie.
But rest in peace to R.
The first
Lee
half
Ermey.
of it. Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Golic Wingo podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Winning at sports and at sports broadcasting means changing things up.
Just like La Quinta Inns and Suites is changing up their look.
A renovated lobby that's so contemporary it even makes Golic look cool.
Yes, it does. And a totally updated fitness center that even has Wingo feeling like a workout.
I'm ripped. Plus plenty of comfortable spaces to hang out.
Yep, this La Quinta look definitely has a vibe of victory.
So you can just relax, refresh, and get ready for your next big meeting.
Prepare to win at business with La Quinta Inns and Suites.
Book now at LQ.com.
Adnan Virk in for Trey. We are Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News, as always presented by Progressive Insurance. All of our phone guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, but it's always a pleasure to have guests in studio as ESPN NBA front office insider and co-host of NBA Insiders on ESPN Radio. Bobby Marks joining us in studio, giving the Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. Bobby, New York Knicks melodrama. I mean, as the world turns, give it whatever soap opera you want. I said, looking at that list, to me, it feels uninspired. What's your reaction when you see the list of potential candidates?
Oh, I agree. I mean, I think we look at New York, Orlando, Phoenix. It feels like we've been here before 2 years ago, right? And I think that says a lot about the organization. You can either go the David Fizdale, Mark Jackson route, or you could probably go out of the box at Jerry Stackhouse, who's paid his dues in the G League up in Toronto. And I think whoever it is, they better be prepared to rebuild. I mean, this is a major rebuild, and you're not going to have your best player until probably after the trade deadline in February with Kristaps Porzingis. But they've got to get it right. They can't be doing this 2 years from now. there's got to be some stability with who comes in here.
So what is getting it right? I mean, is it a former coach who's been around for a while? Is it Jerry Stackhouse? Hey, you've paid your dues. We like what you're doing. Let's bring that here. I mean, what with a young team building around a 7'3", new player type of the NBA, what direction do you think they should go?
I think it should be the direction of Jerry Stackhouse. I think if you look across the river, what Brooklyn was able to do with Kenny Atkinson, a former assistant coach in Atlanta, heavy player development there. I know Brooklyn won 28, 29 games this year, and they're not a playoff team. But what Kenny has been able to do is, I think, what New York should do as far as put a foundation in place. And Steve Mills and Scott Perry have been all about it. We're going to build through the draft. It's a youth movement here, and I think Jerry Stackhouse fits that bill.
Talking with Bobby Marks right now, Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio and ESPN News. Such a baffling situation with the Spurs and Kawhi Leonard. This guy is one of the top 5 players in the NBA, maybe number 3 on his best day, and Greg Popovich is a brilliant coach, Hall of Famer, and yet they can't get on the same page, and you can feel Pop's agitation with saying, listen, his camp says he's not ready, and that's why he's not here. But how in the world is this going to get resolved? I feel like there's no chance he's going to play this postseason. Maybe he'll never be a Spur again.
You're right, and I'm writing them up right now just when they lose to have their obituary ready. And my first lead in is, do you trust Kawhi Leonard with a $200 million extension this summer?
Right.
That's what the front office is going to have to ask themselves, and this has been going on since September here. I'm disappointed that he's not with the team in Golden State and that he is
Pop avoided that question.
Yeah, he did.
That he's back in New York rehabbing. What are you rehabbing for? Your team's going to be eliminated in about a week probably here. I don't know how it gets resolved, if it gets resolved at all, but you're coming at a crossroads because it will be a player on a last year contract. You know that expirings don't have much value unless there's a commitment with that acquiring team long term. But there's going to have to be a sit down here because that extension is going to be sitting there, and it's a matter of if San Antonio offers it to him.
If they offer it, imagine if you turned it down. I guess the writing would be on the wall there. But I mean, is that what we're looking at? Because it does look like it's a broken relationship. Then where he moves on to, I mean, how many teams would be jumping at that?
Oh, I think you'd have all, probably not some of these rebuilds, but you would have the main teams. And what would happen is, and we went through it in New Jersey with Carmelo, is that you'll get to a point where San Antonio will probably give permission for teams to talk to Kawhi's camp to find out if there's a long-term commitment before a team is willing to give up major assets. That's what you're going to happen. But
right, they don't want the 1 year.
Yeah, and you'll see a resolution by end of July. I would think. I mean, he's eligible right when free agency starts, July 6th.
Also, in terms of actual game action, Cavs get routed at home. I guess the surprise here is twofold. One, just that LeBron James never loses a game 1 of a playoff series, and how convincingly Indiana played, particularly Oladipo, the 32 points. As somebody who knows the game so well, were you as surprised as it seemed the rest of us were that Indiana stomped them?
I was on a flight yesterday coming up here, and I turned on my phone. Well, JetBlue doesn't have Channel 7, so I don't know why that has never been fixed here. And I saw 25-8 right off the bat, and that surprised me just because of a veteran Cleveland team. Indiana, they were put together basically new this summer, and then when you get off to those big leads, then Cleveland really pressed. And when you're relying on the 3-ball, 5th in the league in attempts, you press and you're playing catch up. You almost have to play a perfect game there. But I think we've underestimated Indiana a little bit. They're a 5 seed. They're a reason why they're a 5 seed. And Victor Oladipo is an all NBA type player, and he proved it yesterday.
So for along their lines, and we're hearing from their fans all over the place of the disrespect that they have, being on that the media is giving them, B, the fact they were on one nationally televised game all year. How close is that team, the Pacers, to really challenging to come out of the East?
I think Cleveland still gets out of this series. I mean, I've been part of series where we've blown out teams and lost 4 in a row from there. They're top of the board with Toronto at the 1 seed. I actually don't see either team getting past Toronto here. Nice. I really don't. I think Indiana is a great story from what they were able to do with the Oladipo trade and how Kevin Pritchard put this team together. But I think they're a good team. I don't think I think their time will come, but I just don't think it's right now.
So LeBron's streak, 7 straight years making the finals, that comes to an end this year.
It does. It's in the Eastern Conference semifinals, or if they had gotten a 3 seed. I've been on Toronto all year. I've been a big believer in this bench. You get through the demons of Game 1 as we saw on
Lowry 4 of 9, DeRozan 6 of 17, but DeLon Wright and CJ Miles both.
The bench mob is getting it done.
Yeah, seriously.
And Fred VanVleet was on the sidelines, who was probably one of your better players, and you got CJ Miles in the offseason as that veteran to stabilize it. And I had them sweeping Washington in this series. I'm not a believer in this Washington team. I know that backcourt is dynamic, but the regular season kind of left a sour taste in my mouth.
Where do you put the 76ers? They're kind of the big talk now because we see Toronto kind of nosedive when they get to the playoffs, haven't gotten over that Cavalier hump, and if the Cavs do come back and win this thing, that's what they're going to see in the next round. But what about the 76ers this year after they get Embiid back?
Well, that's the question, and I think Miami missed a golden opportunity on Saturday, and we saw, I think Zach Lowe tweeted out that Hassan Whiteside was really like disengaged during that whole game, and this Philadelphia team, I give credit to Brian Colangelo to go out and get Marco Bellinelli and Ersan Ilyasova, 2 veterans in late February, because that's kind of stabilized, along with Redick and Amir Johnson. But I've never seen a rookie. Well, I guess we can debate if he's a rookie. Ben Simmons, right? Yeah. That's for another story.
Yeah. Rookie with an asterisk.
Put a performance like that Saturday night where he took over in the second half there. It's almost like what Jason Tatum did in the stretch yesterday in Boston, but he's got such a great feel for the game where I had Jason Kidd in New Jersey, but he makes everyone so much better. But a Philly Boston, if we get there, would be pretty interesting.
Talking right now with Bobby Marks, ESPN NBA front office insider, also co-host of NBA Insiders on ESPN Radio. I still like the Rockets to beat the T-Wolves, but it is interesting, Bobby. I was surprised Minnesota had to battle and fight and claw just to make the playoffs. I know Jimmy Butler was out, but I just felt like their collection of talent, Karl Anthony Towns, Andrew Wiggins, etc., they should be better than that. But how concerning the Rockets' dismal day from beyond the arc? They had to rely on 44 from Harden to win.
Well, I think that's, if you're looking at a silver lining, that they did not play their best game, and they won by 4, but you needed 44 from Harden and down the stretch in a close game here. I think you're going to need a better performance. You'll get out of this series, and we'll see if it's Houston, maybe OKC in that second round, but you need a better performance from Chris Paul.
Yeah.
I thought some of the decision-making, we saw that errant pass at the end of the game, all around, not just Paul, but, Eric Gordon, Trevor Ariza. You're relying on the 3 ball when you're missing shots. That changes the game a little bit. But Minnesota, a team that's been deficient with their bench. Although Rose had a great game, I thought he had a pretty good game last night.
Sure did.
Karl Anthony Towns, you got to get him more than 9 shots, and I think they forgot about him down the stretch of this game.
Yeah, even Tom Thibodeau, again, who was on with us at the end of last week, said after this game that he needs to be more active as well, and I agree, they need to get the ball to him more as well. So we talk about Houston, we talk about Golden State, even Oklahoma City to an extent of what they've done. So of these 4 teams, Portland, Utah, Minnesota, New Orleans, in 2 to 3 years, one of those teams is going to be at or right near the top of the West. And we're saying this could be a legitimate NBA title team. Which team would it be?
I think Utah, because of Donovan Mitchell, where he is right now, and you've got Rudy Gobert locked up. Basically, the core of this group is locked up. Another year here, they'll have a draft pick. But I like Utah just because of the Mitchell factor.
Can they get that free agent, though? That would be the thing, right?
That's the big question, is that this is a team that's always had to build through the draft, and they've been fortunate to land Gordon Hayward 8 years ago. You got Mitchell. You were able to Ricky Rubio in a trade. That's the big thing, is will a free agent go out to Utah? They have possible flexibility this summer or next year, but that would be probably the missing piece there.
Bobby Marks, great stuff, who makes his home in Naples, Florida. Thanks for coming. Mid-April in New England.
Sorry.
Freezing rain. Can't beat it, right?
I almost got back on the plane yesterday afternoon.
Everyone in the neighborhood knew about Bobby. Bobby, the basketball boy, they called him. Bobby wanted to go pro someday, so he was always out in the driveway shooting hoops. But one day, his mom came out and told him,
"Hey, your wife wants you to take out the trash?"
His mom was visiting, and Bobby was a grown man. He had kind of missed his window. Plus, no one had ever seen him actually make a basket. But on the other hand, Bobby had heard how Geico could save him money on car insurance, so he switched and saved. So it was all good.
Back here on Cinephile, this is literally 30 minutes after the Academy Awards ended. Producer Dan Stanzik, my man Ben Linesman. Shape of Water wins for Best Picture and Best Director.
When Shape of Water was announced as the Best Picture winner, the first thing I thought of was Mike Golic. Golic is sitting somewhere in his Connecticut mansion, furious, throwing Doritos at the screen. The fish man, come on! Sorry, Mike Golic, that the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences disagrees with you.
Yeah.
When you think Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, you think of Mike Golic.
Yeah, and you think of Shape of Water. That's why I was locked into the ACMs last night. Give me the Country Music Awards.
Anything but.
Over that.
Adnan Virk alongside Golic. We are Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. We'll do more football talk at the top of the hour as Damien Woody will join us. Also some NBA news as well.
Golic and Wingo is presented by 1-800-Flowers.com. Surprise a friend or loved one today with a bouquet from 1-800-Flowers.com. When you order a dozen multicolored roses for just $20.99, you'll get another dozen absolutely free. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN.
You heard there on the Rejoin My Podcast, Cinephile, ESPN app, and on iTunes. Please download, subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes. Mike has always been a supporter of the podcast.
Yes, absolutely.
He loves movies as well. Mm-hmm. I know you saw Blockers. And
Blockers.
Give me your review first, and we'll do Pacino.
I loved it. I mean, listen, it's there's nothing crazy about it. It's not like this, wow, how it was written or this and that.
Sure.
It was a predictable movie, but it was really funny. And the reason, and listen, I'll just be honest, is it was R. I mean,
it was a hard R.
It was a hard R, and listen, it was dirty humor.
Sure.
And I'm not going to lie, I'm a fan of dirty humor. I'm a fan of all humor. I can deal with the PG humor as well.
Yeah.
But this was funny, and it being R made it funny. John Cena, very good. I think he does a nice job. You look at the two former wrestler guys, or the guy Cena and obviously The Rock, what he's doing. Rampage came out and just was number one everywhere. He's on a rampage.
Yeah.
With what he's doing.
But Cena's got good comedic timing.
Cena does a nice job. I completely agree. He stays in his lane of what he does. He does a really good job of it. Mm-hmm. It was a very, very funny movie. You kind of knew where it was going. Mm-hmm. I mean, with everything, but it was funny. Some of the lines were funny. The scenes were funny. So I went with Mike and my wife, Chris, and we really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it got very good reviews. So how many donuts? Is that 4
we
donuts?
We gave it like 3.5. Jason Fitz came as well.
Oh, Fitzy. Nice.
And he gave it 4.
Okay.
Mike went 3, so we put 3.5 up there.
Does he have like 4 fiddles? Does he use that for his emoji, or maybe not?
He just went with my donut thing. So we had 4 donuts there. I ate half of one, and felt really good about myself.
Call it a day. So check out Blockers. Also on HBO is Paterno. This movie just debuted April 7th. I had a chance to watch it. I was away on vacation when I came back. Watched it this weekend. So I thought Al Pacino was terrific playing Joe Paterno. People had always said he always looked like him and resembled him. And he said in doing the movie, the key was getting the glasses and the nose right. Had to wear a prosthetic. And the movie completely focuses on just that moment. Once the story broke, Penn State, about Jerry Sandusky and the crimes he was charged with and how it affected Paterno. And it was interesting seeing the story, Mike, because we as sports fans, we know it so well. We lived it. You discussed it on the radio. I think if this film was intended more for a broader audience who were not aware of Paterno's legacy and how revered he was in Happy Valley and how it all came crashing down.
Well, let me ask you this, though. How do you think, and have you heard, Penn State fans and Joe Paterno fans, what did they think about it?
Yeah, I think
of the portrayal.
They feel like the movie took some liberties. Barry Levinson directed it, won the Oscar for Rain Man. They felt they took some liberties with trying to guess what was going on in his mental state. Because you watch Pacino as Paterno, and he comes across as this doddering old man who really wasn't with it and wasn't aware of what was going on. He comes across as a guy who was single-minded, just wanted to focus on football. Right. Let's let the courts take care of this stuff. I don't know what happened with Jerry. Yeah, McQuarrie told me something years ago. I report it, which is what I was supposed to do, and let's move on. And what it really comes down to is the fact that the critics of Paterno will say he had a moral responsibility to do more and wasn't able to do so. But the movie doesn't take, to answer your question, a strong stance. It doesn't say Paterno's a villain and knew about it, and it doesn't say he was a hero and didn't know. They kind of try to play it down the middle. But how about the fact Pacino's done all these biopics? He played Jack Kevorkian.
Yeah,
you don't know Jack, won an Emmy for that. It was in Roy Cohn, Angels in America, won an Emmy for that. The Irishman, he's playing Jimmy Hoffa. That's coming out next year. So I thought it was a really well-done movie. I'm curious what you think of it. Because like I said, but sports fans, we know it really well.
And it is interesting what you say of those outside the sports world, if they watch and don't really know a lot about what's going on, what their read is going to be about it.
A rare movie that I think could have been longer as well. It's actually only an hour and 40 minutes, and we know Paterno's legacy. And I mean, if you focus on his life and his career and how he built
that'd
that
be tough. An hour and 40 minutes.
You're literally just focusing on 6 days, and it's literally just here's how it all comes crashing down. So it's weird. It's a rare movie that I thought could have been longer and had more kind of telling before and the after. But it is still amazing to think about that spectacular fall from grace and the fact that shortly after, 2 months later, diagnosed with cancer and passed away. By the way, Parada chiming in, Rampage, as Mike mentioned, $148 million worldwide.
Really quick, anybody see it? Anybody out there yet? Nobody has seen it yet? Yeah, I mean, it's
Rampage is certainly that.
It's rampaging.
Speaking of going on the rampage, one of the best pass rushers of all time has decided to hang him up. Someone that was tasked with blocking him will join us next. Adnan Virk in for Trey. It's Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News.
Next, you're holding up the line, ma'am.
What did you say?
You're next in line for the water slide, ma'am. Feet forward and enjoy the ride.
Okay, dearie. This does look fun. Whee! You melted me. I've melted.
The Wicked Witch of the West on a water slide? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
See what you've done. Oh!
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
It's April, and some things are winding up like baseball, and some things are winding down like hockey. Thankfully, Pennzoil Synthetics provides your vehicle with complete protection for top engine performance no matter what season it is, so you don't have to worry about ups and downs. Pennzoil. Make the switch.
Final hour here of Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. Always appreciate you tuning in. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. All of our phone guests in the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. I'm Adnan Virk in for Trey. Always fun to hang out with Golic, and always fun to have our ESPN NFL analyst, Damien Woody, joining us in studio, giving the Straight Talk. Brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, best phones, best networks, no contracts. Go ahead.
Yeah, so much going on, from Coachella and Baychella.
Coachella's been a big topic today, Damien.
And what she's done. So I know, I'm a big fan of the country music, the ACMs last night. A bunch of great performances. Including our buddy of the show, Darius Rucker, performed last night. Great, a lot of big-time winners. I was probably most happy for the vocal group of the year, Old Dominion. If you haven't heard them, a good band to check out. They're fantastic. But a lot of great winners. Great show last night, and obviously great basketball and hockey to talk about. But also something, Damien, I know is close to your heart and my heart, and that is also what's running today. There's obviously the serious side of the Boston Marathon of 5 years ago.
Right.
The tragedy that struck there with the bomb going off at the finish line, and just you see years later the stories that are going on of the people that are still recovering and how they have and where they are today. Some incredible stories. But then the other side of actually running a marathon. Again, our own Field Yates trained to run this with his fiancée. He hurt his knee, and now he can't run in it, which is such a bummer to do all that training for it. His fiancée is still going to run in it. But I asked you, and you came in. I kind of knew the answer already. It's my same answer. You ever think about running a marathon?
Dude, I was like, the first thing I said, listen, if my life depended on it, I'd just say, just shoot me. Just shoot me now.
That would be,
there is no way, I just pose this to everyone out there. What in the hell would make you want to run? What is it? 20? How many miles?
26.2.
26 miles.
It's the challenge. Stanzik's run 2 of them. He's run 2 of them.
Dude, you're nuts. You're crazy. 26 miles?
Yeah, I run for the mental clarity. There's too much going on up there.
I mean, just free your mind.
You do it as kind of
yoga too.
My wife ran the New York Marathon a couple of years ago for the challenge of it, and she crossed the finish line, and the first words out of her mouth were, never again. Never again am I doing this thing and putting myself through it. But the people that run multiple marathons, it's incredible.
Here's the reason that you could do it, Damien. You're not worried about time. If the goal was you just have to finish a marathon to stay alive, you'd be like, fine, I'll walk the thing.
I could walk 26 miles.
Yeah.
Dude, no, 26 miles?
Just walk it. I mean, I don't know.
I'll just kiss the wife and kids goodbye.
It's been a great run.
Yeah, it's been a great, hey, I've accomplished a lot in my 40 years. Just send me off, man. No way in the world. This body is not made for that type of distance. Okay?
I'll see you on the other side.
That's right.
We'll dive into the NFL stuff in a second, but first off, here is what is trending. So the Pacers beat the Cavaliers 90-90 to snap LeBron James' streak of 21 consecutive first-round wins, which is the longest streak by any player under the current playoff format since. LeBron isn't worried about the loss, saying, I was down 3-1 in the finals, so I'm the last guy to ask about how you're going to feel the next couple days.
Well, yeah, I get it. First and foremost, tip of the cap to the Pacers for what they did, a team nobody saw much of during the year from a national TV side. Oladipo was fantastic, tough, in-your-face defensive team, blue-collar team. We'll see now if Cleveland can put it together. He needs more help. Does LeBron? Kevin Love's got to take more than 8 shots. Even LeBron's triple-double, the points came basically from the free throw line or shots within the restricted area. Wasn't hitting jumpers either, so he was somewhat one-dimensional. But the others have to be able to get involved, and he tries to get him involved. So many people say, LeBron, just take the game over. Well, he's a guy that could go down as one of the great guards of all time if he wanted to, with the way he can bring up the ball and or dish the ball out. And guys aren't just hitting the shots. J.R. Smith actually hit some shots, but he needs more help around him for this team to come back. And I would imagine they'll come out much more aggressively in game 2.
And credit where credit's due to our man, Damien Woody, who tweeted, I know people automatically go with LeBron, but anyone who watched the Cavs this year knows they're god-awful on defense, cannot protect the rim. I told Jalen Rose, teams aren't scared of them.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, everyone thinks that, you know, whatever team LeBron is on is automatically going to the finals, which, you know, 9 times out of 10, that's the way it is. Mm-hmm. But again, the Cleveland Cavaliers are one of the worst teams defensively in the league this year. And Mike, you know, and this crosses over sports. Defense is not something that you can just flip the switch on. That's something
that's what I want to.
Yeah, that's more that you literally have. That's effort, and it's got to be something that you have to build to. And for Cleveland, they didn't have a rim. They don't have a rim protector. Again, during the regular season, they just didn't play any defense. So it was really about LeBron couldn't hit from outside, and they just put the clamps down on everybody else, and that was it.
And the thing about it is, last year, it's not like they were a great defensive team last year. So if you're not that great defensively, you got to make up for it. And they had Kyrie last year. That could,
right.
You know, drop in 25 or 30 on you, and they don't have that anymore. So that's got to be made up for somehow, some way.
Yeah, the benefit of having a guy who can create his own offense is enormous. Kevin Love is not that guy, and obviously they don't have that guy without LeBron James, especially since he cannot facilitate all the time with his 20th triple-double. Also in the Western Conference, Rockets, they beat the Timberwolves 104-101 as James Harden scored 44 points. That's the second most in a playoff opener in Rockets history. Hakeem Olajuwon, the Dream Shake, 45 back in 95 at the Jazz. And according to Second Spectrum, Harden shot 6 of 6, 5 of 5 downtown without turning the ball over in isolation in game 1. They did not shoot well from 3, Mike,
no.
but Harden bailed them out.
They didn't, and it was a chance, you know, for Minnesota, because we had Tom Thibodeau on the end of last week and talked about all the threes that they're going to shoot. They average 42 a game. Minnesota averages 22 a game. It feels like Houston shoots about 80 of them a game, but they did not shoot well from there, so it was a chance for Minnesota. But even Thibodeau said that Karl Anthony Towns has to be more active as that 7-footer. I think they got to get the ball into him more than what they did. He just took 9 shots in this game. So we'll see where game 2 goes. But the way that Houston missed, Damien, I thought was an opportunity for Minnesota to try and capitalize them. They just couldn't get it done.
Yeah, I mean, you can't have your best player on your team score, I believe it was 8 points, and you only lose by 3. So they lost a prime opportunity to steal a game in Houston. I mean, I didn't even think that game was going. I didn't even think this series was going to be close. But credit Minnesota for, you know, kind of putting on a performance. You get more out of Karl Anthony Towns. Mm-hmm. This could turn into a good series.
Derrick Rose came in and played well. Played 23 minutes in this game, had 16 points, hit half his shots. It was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I was going to say, when he's showing up, watch out. And the soap opera continues. The Knicks adding Mike Woodson and David Blatt to the coaching search. They're finalizing plans to meet with the 4 top candidates for their head coaching job. David Fizdale, Mark Jackson, Jerry Stackhouse, and former Cavs coach David Blatt. This according to our own Adrian Wojnarowski. New York also has received permission to talk to former head coach Mike Woodson, who is now serving as an assistant for the Clippers. He was fired by the Knicks in 2014, isn't considered to be in the top tier, but my word, when I see this list, is uninspiring. There's not one guy that I go, he can lead the Knicks out of the wilderness.
So you wonder, in this case then, with kind of, you know, at least a young guy you're building around, Porzingis coming off of an injury, but it is youth and you have a chance to kind of retool this thing. Do you not go with the retread coach and go with a guy like Jerry Stackhouse? You know, a guy who's now paid his dues, coaching in the G League, would be a first-time NBA coach, but, you know, so obviously a younger NBA coach, first-time NBA coach, and just kind of go down that road and see where it takes you. Are you willing to roll the dice like that, or do you just feel more safe and secure taking a former coach?
Well, I know that Jerry Stackhouse has been a coach in the G League, but we all know that the Knicks rolled the dice on Derek Fisher, who
Yes,
was never,
yeah.
and that turned out
snake eyes.
that turned out horribly.
Except for Derek, who made some money.
Well, he made. Oh yeah, he came out great in this whole deal. But you know, I would tend to think that, you know, for as long as fans in New York has been clamoring for Mark Jackson, that he would have the inside track to a job like this.
Yeah, I would think New York guy, past track record success with the Warriors, you think Mark Jackson will be the guy. All right, that is what is trending as we continue here on Golic and Wingo. Adnan Virk in for Trey. We are Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. Damien Woody with us as well. Let's talk further just about that Cleveland performance, because this is big, Damien, the fact that you were a guy who said, don't just read the headlines, don't just see LeBron. So you do not believe LeBron is going to be going to the NBA Finals his 7th straight, much less get out of this first round potentially, right?
Well, listen, the Pacers are, you know, a difficult matchup. You know, they won the season series, I think 3-1 or something like that.
Yeah, they did.
During the regular season. They're a gritty team. Oladipo has just been fantastic coming off that Paul George trade. A lot of people thought that OKC fleeced Indiana in that trade, but it turns out that, you know, I would say it was at least equal, because Oladipo has just been a monster this year. Listen, they just, again, I want to say it again, Cleveland, they don't have many guys that can just beat you one-on-one. We all know about LeBron and his greatness. There's no question about that. He's the greatest player on the planet. But outside of that, who's the other person or persons that can create on their own? They don't have that. They had that with Kyrie last year. They don't have it this year. And if you're Indiana, it's almost if you say, you know what, LeBron's going to get his, focus on everybody else. We shut everybody else down. That could be the recipe for them getting past Cleveland.
And especially if LeBron's missing his jumpers.
Right.
You know, 0 for 4 from three-point land, not hitting jumpers. So he drives the lane, they collapse on it, they either put him on the line, or he's scoring, or he's dishing it out, and they don't have another shooter. You're right. They went from 2 people who could create on their own to 1. They cut it in half. It was LeBron and Kyrie, and now you just have LeBron. So who else steps up? The other thing I'll say is the Pacers need 3 more wins in 6 more games, potentially 6 more games. I find it hard to believe that Cleveland will shoot 23% from three-point land and 38% for the game, that many more times. So now it's possible, because that's what they have as shooters. They don't have creators outside of LeBron. So that's something we have to kind of wait and see who picks up the slack. Who's that next guy? It's got to be Kevin Love for sure, but he's got to get more than 8 shots, to play in this game. And but I would imagine overall as a team, you'll see a lot more aggression coming out in this game too.
Yeah, I think Cleveland will indeed bounce back. Some news that came down earlier during the show: James Harrison retired, 84.5 sacks. Obviously put together a brilliant career. Although, Damien, me and Mike were a little bit surprised. He ranks 52nd all-time in sacks. Kind of would have thought a little higher than that. But, I mean, you picture him in his heyday, only the 3 seasons where he had double-digit sacks. But at his height, he was absolute terror when it came to sacking quarterbacks. As a guy who was in the trenches, what was it like for you when you saw James Harrison coming at you?
Oh, he was an absolute monster. Listen, I applaud James Harrison, because you got to understand where this guy started. He was an undrafted guy. I believe he got cut 3 times. By the Baltimore Ravens, and then went on to become one of the best outside linebackers in the National Football League. But I mean, the thing that made James Harrison unique was, first of all, his height. You know, he's a guy that's under 6 foot. He's, one of the strongest dudes that you'll ever come across, and he was just explosive off the ball. So if you're an offensive lineman, most offensive linemen, especially tackles, are tall. So, Mike, as you know, the game is all about leverage, and you naturally have better leverage than the offensive lineman. Boy, you can wreak havoc on a lot of quarterbacks, which he did.
He seemed to, would you say his game, it was a little too one-dimensional for the game of today. Obviously, when you get older, your skills kind of erode some, but he always had that strength. But as I said earlier, the tweener used to be the odd person out in this league.
Yes.
Now the tweener is kind of that pass rusher, and he just kind of fits that one-dimensional road of, you're going to get a workout playing against him, but, not once he was past his heyday, he didn't kind of fit that versatile athletic pass rusher that we're seeing in today's game.
Yeah, he wasn't the type of guy that had all these different rush moves, or, the type of guy that could be out there in coverage, because we all know the game is different today. It's a much more passing league. You got to have guys, this is not the Blitzburg of old, where guys can just come screaming off the edge. Now you have to have more responsibilities and pass coverage and all those type of things. So he was kind of in that era. He was in a pass era playing in an era now where it's much more passing.
So take people down on the inside. When you get ready to play someone like that, we always talk about game plans. Where you do a game plan as a whole, you know what your offensive game plan is. I know what my defensive game plan is. Then you get into that individual study. Then you get in the room, whether it's by yourself or the other O-line guys, or for me, the D-line guys, and you start looking at individual players and say, okay, what's his stance like? What does he do for me? You know, what's his stance? You know, what's his feet? What's the angles? All that. Is he looking anywhere? How they play together, splits and all that for you. And you're looking on the defensive side when you're going to play against a guy like that. What was your thoughts on him when you know you're going to play against what you're watching for and what you're expecting?
Well, first of all, he wore a visor, so you couldn't really see his eyes. A lot of times, the offensive lineman, we like to see defensive players' eyes because sometimes they give things away. But he wore a dark visor, so you can scratch that off the list. You look at get off. You know, I always say the one thing that scares the number one thing that scares offensive linemen is speed. Guys who can get off the ball quick. Those are the guys, in practice, I need to simulate that type of speed off an edge. He had really good get off. The one thing about James Harris, he didn't have many rush moves. It was really about speed to power. And what I mean by that, he would explode off the football. And because he was so short and strong that he would convert that speed and come right into your chest and try to bowl you over into the quarterback, or he'd try to get the edge, come around the back door and strip sack the quarterback. So again, this guy was the ultimate competitor, a guy that came from really nowhere, undrafted, and to play 15 years. I mean, that says something about the character of a player to be able to play that long.
Let's take it a little bit further because I think this is interesting to people, is what other tips? What do you look for? I look for certain things from an O-line and back. What do you look for to try and, outside of just lining up and saying, I'm going to block that guy, what tips do you see where the defensive line gives something away to you?
Stance. Because I can tell from a stance what he's doing. If he has a lot of weight like over his knee, okay, he's coming. He's screaming off the edge. If he's, lined up square, okay, then he might be making a move inside, or he might be, dropping out in pass coverage. So, and if, like, for a defensive lineman, if you see the knuckles, the whites of the knuckles, okay, this guy's coming. But if he's kind of relaxed back, then you know that this guy, either he's dropping back or he's kind of moving along the line. So there's a lot of nuances when, a lot of things you look for as an offensive lineman and look for tips. And I tell people all the time with film study, defenses will give things away as far as players, stances. It's all the little things, but those are things that you pick up, the more you're in the league.
So true. As a defensive lineman, I would do the same thing from the offensive side, especially I'd see a guard. He'd be back a little bit, not in his stance, but back off the line a little bit when he's pulling.
Right.
Same thing with the knuckles. Is he white knuckling? Now, when I was playing, there was a lot less guys that were wearing gloves all the time, so you could see, the knuckle and what they did, how much their fingers indented into the grass.
Right.
There was another thing that I always picked up on was while the cadence was going on, right at the last second, a lineman would just a hair dig in just a little bit with the foot, with a foot. And what did that mean? That's the foot he's pushing off of.
That's right.
So if he's pushing off that foot, he's coming, the other way. I would just look for that. And the other, who gave it away the most? Running backs. Running backs would come to the line and they would look. They would look where they're going or look in the direction. Yeah, right. And so you would at least know something good, whether they're coming that way or the place. And then you kind of look at the formation that you went in your game plan and say, okay, that kind of matches up.
That's right.
To what's going to happen.
That's right. That's something that, I've heard a lot of defensive players talk about a lot. When watching the offense, they'll look at the running backs.
Yep.
To see, is this the type of guy that looks around and looks where he's going? If so, okay, that's a key.
Mm-hmm.
So I know people, I know a lot of fans out there, they watch the game, but there's a lot.
So much.
There is so much that goes into trying to get that little edge, against your opponent.
Having said all that, Damien, you own James Harrison, right? He never beat you for a sack.
Of course I'm going to brag on myself. I'm going to brag on myself. But listen, man, he was that's the type of dude we call a war daddy. He was a load. Yeah.
Woo. Other news in the NFL, Cowboys releasing Dez Bryant. He's clearly fallen off in terms of production. He was averaging, or at least had 1,200-yard seasons 2012 to 2014. Last 3 years hasn't even eclipsed 900 yards. Is he still a number one guy? Because in his head he thinks he is, and he wants to go to a team in the division to show the Cowboys, you made a mistake by getting rid of me.
Production says no. Dez has never been a speed burner. Even when he came into the league, he was really good at the 50-50 ball, strong hands. That was the type of guy that he was, big physical receiver. Clearly the past 3 years has been a downward trend as far as production. I would in Dez's defense though, I will say quarterback play might have had a little bit to do with that, because it seemed like with Tony Romo, he had they were much more in sync as opposed to Dak. So, one of the things that I said last week was I would love to see Dak go to maybe Aaron, pair up with like an Aaron Rodgers or Dez. Dez, excuse me. Dez pair up with an Aaron Rodgers or maybe a Tom Brady, Tom Brady, a veteran quarterback that is the boy that's plays at an elite level, that knows how to get in sync with his wide receivers. Then then we'll see. Okay, is this guy really truly a number one?
Yeah, I think a lot of it just wasn't worth the $16.5 million cap hit. We
all know how that goes.
That money works. And then lastly, Gronk isn't going to show up to the offseason program, or that's reported. Doing a lot of working out the TB12 stuff as well. But him not showing up, does that give you any pause as what you think he'll do this year?
We keep talking about this. We've heard whispers about Gronk maybe moving on, and I've always said if you got your toe in the water. That's usually a sign. The one thing about Gronk is he's done such a great job with his money. Yeah. As far as saving it, it gives you so much flexibility. And there's been talk about Hollywood and all those type of
he'll
wrestling.
do something.
Gronk will be able to. Gronk can punch his own ticket. And when you have that type of flexibility or those type of things that you're capable of doing, he can easily say goodbye.
He can. All that said, I think he's coming back.
I think he's coming back too.
One more kick at the can.
This is going to be interesting.
28 years old. Brady's still there. One more year.
There's a lot going on with the Patriots organization this offseason.
There is, and you heard Danny Amendola about how he loves Bill, thinks he's a great coach, but he can be a bleepity bleep sometimes and tough to play for. And
I say he's been unshackled.
Yeah,
he's been unshackled from the Patriot way.
I think Gronk alluded to that.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That's right. With Bill.
Great stuff as always, Damien Woody. Thanks, man.
Yeah, no problem.
Man. Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Golic Wingo podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Winning at sports and at sports broadcasting means changing things up.
Just like La Quinta Inns and Suites is changing up their look.
A renovated lobby that's so contemporary it even makes Golic look cool.
Yes, it does. And a totally updated fitness center that even has Wingo feeling like a workout.
I'm ripped. Plus plenty of comfortable spaces to hang out.
Yep, this La Quinta look definitely has a vibe of victory.
So you can just relax, refresh, and get ready for your next big meeting.
Prepare to win at business with La Quinta Inns and Suites.
Book now at LQ.com.
There we go.
I was going to say, Levitt and Company always going to keep it straight. And by the way, you like the music because
love it.
Country music last night, huge.
Yeah, listen, I'm a huge country music guy. ACMs last night, so great. And they do such a great job. They give out obviously awards, and it's cool, but there's so much entertainment, so many of the stars singing it. And it was in Vegas, so that's not a bad thing. So
I was going to say.
Do a little gambling before that. So, yeah, really, really enjoyed that. I don't know if I enjoyed it as much as all the basketball. And quite honestly, the game of the day was Milwaukee and Boston. I mean, that game was unbelievable. Both teams having a double-digit lead, 15 ties, 12 lead changes. The Rozier shot with that left a half a second. Then Middleton hitting the 35-footer to tie it to go to overtime. What a great game that was.
Yeah, for Boston, I mean, I don't know if this is a story that you rally around, but I think if you're an NBA fan without a dog in the race, you see they lost Gordon Hayward at the start of the year. Now they've lost Kyrie Irving. the best chance they've got. I mean, they're a 2 seed that nobody believes in. Maybe they beat the Bucks.
I picked Milwaukee to win the series, right? And I think more than a few people did. Yeah,
absolutely. So the fact they're able to pull off a win like that at home, don't know if they can sustain it, but good for them. And Al Horford, 24 points, 12 rebounds to lead the way. I just think it's a fun series. Giannis is such a great player to watch. 35 points for him.
Yeah, he and Horford guarding him. You mentioned Horford with 24 points. What is it? 8 shots. 8 shots. Yeah. He had 13 of 14 from the free throw line and then playing defense as well. So he's a guy they're definitely relying on.
Let's talk further, though, about this trade. That July 1st, 2017 last year was momentous because the Pacers traded Paul George to the Thunder for Victor Oladipo and Domantas Sabonis. At the time, Cavs owner Dan Gilbert said, I will say that Indiana could have done better than it did. So the Pacers routed the Cavs. Oladipo was asked about the Gilbert comment afterwards, and Victor Oladipo is not going to be a guy who's going to be mincing words.
Victor, you said you were aware of Gilbert's quote. Were you bothered by it?
No.
Did it fuel you at all?
No, I already had fuel. You can say he added fuel to the fire, I guess you can say, but that was so long ago. I mean, it came up recently, obviously, because we're playing the Cavs in the series, but I'm aware of what he said. Can't control his opinion. All I'm focused on is myself and becoming the best Victor Oladipo possible.
I've always said, do you need the extra motivation? You're going into the playoffs. You already feel probably disrespected as a team. You were on national TV one time, and players know that, believe me. Right. They know that. And you're going against a team now that has the best player in the world and everybody talks about and all the finals, LeBron has been to, and then all of a sudden, you throw in, yes, oh yeah, that was said about this trade. So yeah, should it make you play better? Listen, we're all human beings, right? And if you can find something that can add that little spark, and it does, because a lot of people say, well, you shouldn't need an extra spark. And I get it, because it's the playoffs. And listen, you've played well against this team in the regular season, but it's not like a little extra can't help. A little extra motivation to be reminded of, oh yeah, we got fleeced on that deal. Well, wait a minute, I was part of that deal, and here, let me show you something, here, which he obviously did.
Yeah, I think you're right that you don't need that as sole motivation, but a little bit of extra sugar, a little bit of extra spice, get you to the top. Why not? And obviously, you can see his frustration. The fact that Oladipo now has got a chance to shine. 32 points, he was great all game long. Paul George, meantime, 8 3-pointers in the win over the Jazz. Been an odd season for Oklahoma City because they've been up and down. You're not sure if they had the right chemistry. And yet, after Houston and Golden State, to me, they feel like that third team in the Western Conference that could upset the apple cart, especially if George can play like this with Russell Westbrook, with Carmelo Anthony. And the most notable thing about Paul George's performance was not the 8 3-pointers, but the fact he gave himself a nickname afterwards.
Y'all ain't met Playoff P yet,
That's why, once again, Playoff P was his nickname.
Y'all ain't met Playoff P yet,
yeah.
In the annals of bad self-appointed nicknames, where exactly will...
Y'all ain't met Playoff P yet,
Again, it sounds like a postseason drug test. Hey, come on over, we're going to need you Playoff P.
Comes in with some depends. Yeah. Carmelo and Russell Westbrook were asked about it afterwards.
Both of y'all, can you just talk about playing with Playoff P finally and just getting a chance to see him getting it going like that?
That's his name? Playoff. That's the new name? I don't know. I'm gonna let Russ answer that one. Playoff P.
They kind of left that one alone, didn't they?
Yeah, because they know it's bad.
Playoff P was on fire. 8 of 11 from 3-point land, 13 of 20 overall. As you mentioned, 36 points, 80 points between Russell Westbrook and Carmelo Anthony. So the three were absolutely on fire. It's been such an up and down thing with them, and Russell Westbrook, do we say quietly, averages another triple-double 2 years in a row by getting the 16 rebounds he needed in the last game to get that. He actually ended up with 20 in that game. And to what this team could possibly do, we'll see. Time will tell. It's still obviously with Houston and Golden State. Golden State, any questions of them, at least in game one, they just said, okay, listen, we're just fine right now. And I would imagine Kevin Durant would really want to take charge by saying, listen, all the talk is, Steph is the man. We don't have Steph, so we're vulnerable.
Right.
And that's where KD, because I remember last year as KD's going on to be the MVP of the finals, we're all thinking, is he ready to be the guy that overtakes LeBron James as the best player in the game? A lot of people said he was right there, and LeBron put his stamp on that this year to say, not so fast, everybody.
Yep.
And now KD to even be in question, is he the best player on Golden State? I don't question. I think he is, but obviously they miss Steph, but sure. KD has a little bit of about him that should be, okay, I need to prove that even without Steph here, that we can still get the job done because they have plenty of talent.
Yeah, plenty of firepower, and they showed that against the Spurs in that game one. By the way, I had a story earlier in terms of those nicknames, Playoff P, that Durant wanted to be known as the Servant at one point in time.
The Servant.
Pretty bad nickname. And Big Sexy, somebody tweeted, which is actually Bartolo Colon's nickname.
Yeah.
But I thought it was one of Shaquille O'Neal's nicknames, and as Brett Prada pointed out to us, a researcher, Shaq had that run where he was giving himself nicknames all the
Left
time.
and right.
Didn't matter.
Yeah.
Right, Brokeback Mountain came out. He called himself Broke Shaq Mountain.
Yeah.
I mean, he was Big Aristotle. He was a big Shamrock with the
and they
Celtics.
always say you can't give yourself a nickname, but when you're 7'2", about 300 pounds,
right.
Who's going to tell you don't give yourself a nickname?
Yeah,
you know
because Shaq was so entertaining about it.
That's the thing about him. He was very entertaining. He did a lot of things tongue-in-cheek, so you kind of let it all go. I completely agree with that.
NBA playoffs continued tonight. Honestly, it was a great weekend just to sit on the couch and watch. Not only NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, and tonight it continues. Heat at the Sixers at 8 o'clock. No Joel Embiid tonight. But talk about a team. Listen, the Sixers won 16 straight games heading into the playoffs. A very entertaining game on Saturday as they win at 130-103. Ben Simmons was amazing. 17 points, 14 assists, and 9 rebounds. When you put up 130 points, that kind of firepower was amazing. For anybody who thought, oh, maybe this young team without playoff experience would shrink from it, well, they didn't show that in game one. Will we see more of that in game two? Who knows? I think it's enough they can beat the Heat without Joel Embiid. After that, though, I'd start to get concerned if you don't have him there.
Yeah, again, as you mentioned, he's through the concussion protocol, so he's out of that, but still going to miss the game. So I would imagine at least he's going to give it a try pretty soon. You saw the mask. That he
wants to wear the black mask.
Yeah, it's going to look like a superhero, type of thing going on there.
Yeah.
But those are always interesting of getting used to them, putting something foreign on that they're not used to with the sweat and all that on the mask. We'll see how that goes in getting used to it. But there were those that thought the Heat could give the 76ers a little bit of trouble because the 76ers, their lack of playoff experience certainly didn't show in game one. You're right. I mean, Ben Simmons is incredible. Redick, with 28 points in this game as well. He been fantastic for him. But you're right. They didn't struggle in this one where people thought they might. So Embiid sits out this one out of mad. You know what? And let's be honest. If they win this game and they're up 2-0 and you're not sure about Embiid, it's just we'll sit till we lose a game. And then maybe bring in, or they may want to start knocking some rust off if you bring them on and you play them a few minutes here and there just to knock the rust off. We'll see. But if they can get this game tonight, clearly, and they always say a series doesn't start till the road team wins or a home team loses, but they should go up 2-0 here and go down to Miami and see where it goes.
Also, Spurs at the Warriors, 10 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio. The great Mark Kester and John Barry will have the call. That's a series that, like you said, Golden State, they took care of business against San Antonio on Saturday. The Spurs, of course, without Kawhi Leonard.
You see that changing?
No, I don't think he's going to come back, right?
No, not that. You see the series.
No, I feel like
either.
Warriors in 5, right? Spurs maybe get one when the series shifts back in game 3, but I just don't think San Antonio has enough. Rudy Gay led the way with 15 points in 6 boards, but Durant was terrific, as you mentioned. They won at 113-92. I just don't think San Antonio has the horses. It's been a weird season for the Spurs. They're not the Spurs of old, and the Leonard melodrama has hurt them, and Golden State, even without Steph, is
And
formidable.
I'm not going to lie, way before all this stuff started happening with Kawhi Leonard and the thigh, before it all started happening when you thought he was just going to come back and start playing, who saw this coming?
Yeah.
Who saw this whole thing, this whole storyline, this whole drama thing coming down because we know they went through it last summer with LaMarcus Aldridge, wasn't sure how he was part of the team, maybe wanted out, and Pop having the dinners with him and, kind of talking to him and working things out. And you think, wow, what a duo this is going to be. Then all of a sudden it's Kawhi Leonard not coming back, has his own people in New York. And you're like, wow, wait a minute. You thought he was a natural fit for a Greg Popovich team to be, continue to carry the torch going forward. But, boy, that sure looks like it's coming to an end.
And props also, we haven't mentioned the Pelicans at all, but Anthony Davis was amazing.
Wow,
you talk about
huge.
one of the more underrated stars in the game, 35 points, 14 rebounds. They win a really good game against the Blazers, 97-95. I just love seeing that market and that player rewarded like that because Davis is awesome.
Yeah, Drew Holiday comes up with a huge block at the end of that one to seal that win for him. That was a nice win for them.
Yeah, first career playoff win as well, so he's now 1-4 in that category. Congrats to the Brow. Coming up next, Marathon Monday in Boston, plus we'll hear from our intrepid reporter in the country music capital of the world. That is next.
Everyone in the neighborhood knew about Bobby. Bobby, the basketball boy, they called him. Bobby wanted to go pro someday, so he was always out in the driveway shooting hoops. But one day, his mom came out and told him, "Hey, your wife wants you to take out the trash." His mom was visiting, and Bobby was a grown man. He had kind of missed his window. Plus, no one had ever seen him actually make a basket. But on the other hand, Bobby had heard how Geico could save him money on car insurance, so he switched and saved. So it was all good.
We had Damien Woody in here a little bit ago. He and I, as former football players and also current people who will never run a marathon in their lives, but would certainly support people as the Boston Marathon. It would be underway today, and unfortunately some really bad weather there. And we all know 5 years ago the tragedy that struck there, and some of the incredible stories of the people that survived that, of where they are now, has been something else. But that run going on now. But Damien and I saying we'd never run it. Somebody figured it out, and I'd have to check their math. He says, I've got numbers for your football marathon. If you average 5 yards a snap, every 9,100 play or so would equal a marathon.
5 yards a snap.
If you average running 5 yards per play, it would take 9,100 plays for you to run a marathon.
I mean, hats off to those people, right? I just think Dan Stanzik's run a couple of marathons or producer. Your wife's done it before.
Crazy.
I mean, it's amazing persistence, but it's not for me. I mean,
no. And not so much just the day of the race, because I imagine it's got to be exciting. It's all the training that's done. It's ridiculous.
Imagine you do all the training, God forbid you can't end up doing it, or at some point in the race you can't finish.
Well, that's like Field Yates. Our own Field Yates did all the training for this, and he hurt his knee a little bit ago, and he can't run in it today. Yeah. It's a shame.
He will be there, though, supporting his fiancé, so good for Field and all those doing it today. Golic and Wingo presented by Progressive Insurance. All of our phone guests in the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. We've talked a lot about the NBA playoffs, but of course the NHL playoffs are going on as well. You can help us by leaving voicemails. 860-506-5505. Once again, 860-506-5505. We have a reporter in Nashville wanted to offer his thoughts on the Preds.
All right, boys, it's Fitz, and you know what? The Preds got the 2-game lead in the series. Bernier, you suck. It's all your fault. It's all your fault. 2 down, 14 to go.
Fitzy's all over it. I mean, that's a succinct, good recap.
I'm going to tell you what, the Preds, how much fun did they have in Nashville last year with the run that they made? And that was now the story is the Golden Knights. There's no doubt about it, right?
Yeah.
What's going on in Vegas? Up 3-0 against the Kings now. I mean, that is the storyline of just how well they're doing as an expansion team. Certainly, you know, some great veterans on that team, but just the run they're making right now has been nothing short of unbelievably impressive.
Our NHL expert, Barry Melrose, said he did not like this matchup for Vegas. He thought the Kings were going to win because of their championship experience. Jonathan Quick's a great goalie. Drew Doughty's one of the best defensemen in the league. He said this isn't going to fit well for Vegas. He called the Kings to win. Instead, as you mentioned, it's Vegas who is now eyeing a sweep. The likes of William Karlsson scoring the game winner 21 seconds after James Neal's goal in that third period flurry. An amazing story for a team that opened their first postseason, 2 home wins from the crowd. Then they go to LA and win now. I mean, it's one of the greatest stories in sports.
It really is. And Fleury had 96 of 99 shots saved in this series right now. We all know when you get to playoffs, did you get that goaltender, that hot goaltender playing well? What a great chance you have. So they're playing well. The Penguins and Flyers. How about a competitive game? We got 3 games in that series and 3 lopsided wins. The latest by the Penguins. They win at 5-1. They're up 2-1 in that series. The Wild finally get a game on the Jets. Jets still lead that series 2-1. Wild get the 6-2 win there. So, as I said, listen, playoff hockey is some of the best sporting event you can be at, especially when you're getting into overtime on that. It's just so much fun to watch.
Last night, Blue Jackets Capitals game. I'm watching Cologne pitch a perfect game. Once that was over, I flipped over and watched the Capitals game. And you talk about a team right now, they just cannot get over that hump. And I mean, this is a team that's loaded with talent.
With leads, too. They're getting the 2-goal leads twice, and they lose twice.
Right. You lose your first 2 games at home. Looks like Washington's done, so they could be clearing house after this. And back to Fitzy's Predators. They win 5-4. You heard him saying Bernier. He's the goalie for the Colorado Avalanche. He had 28 saves, but was the loser in that game. So, also Sharks and Ducks, San Jose, they are up in that series as they won 3-2. They're up 2-0 in that series. Yeah, Brett Parada, big Sharks fan. I should note, Lightning, Devils, and Bruins, Maple Leafs as well. So lots of great Stanley Cup playoff action. Make sure you check it out. And once again, the NBA playoffs continue tonight. As we said earlier, don't expect any surprises with regards to the Warriors and Spurs. That game, 10 Eastern on ESPN Radio. Both of us like Golden State, but Heat at the Sixers could be interesting because Philly is such a fun story right now, but maybe Miami is better than we all realize and they can steal a game tonight.
Yeah, we'll see because Philly drubbed them pretty well. But again, no Embiid, but there was no Embiid in game one as well. So Philly can pull this one off and be up 2-0 before they got to go on the road. But this is always that chance, for that road team to steal one. Let's see if they can, like the Pacers already did in Cleveland, and put a heck of a lot of pressure on the Cavaliers going into game two. But I'll be interested if Philly wins this game and goes up 2-0, what they do with Embiid. Bring him back slowly, sit him until maybe they have a loss or how that comes along.
And lastly, what are you going to do with the rest of your wonderful spring day here in Connecticut where it is 38 degrees? We were swiping snow off of our cars this morning. Heavy rain pelted today. Hasn't Mother Nature laughed at us enough?
It's unbelievable. I mean, it's just got to throw down some salt again if I got any ice on the driveway or the walkway anywhere. Give a path for the dogs to be able to go out somewhere and go to the bathroom so it doesn't happen in the house. Are you kidding me? But you know what? Somebody always says it worse. Yeah. Didn't Green Bay get like 2 feet of snow? Like 23 inches?
20 inches of snow. That's the second largest snowfall in the city's history.
Are you kidding me?
Delay the start of their off-season program.
Gosh.
You're right. Somebody definitely always has it worse. We've got it pretty good. Thanks as always, Mike.
Oh, thank you, Adnan.
Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. Thanks for listening. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow, 6 a.m. Eastern.
Everyone in the neighborhood knew about Bobby. Bobby, the basketball boy, they called him. Bobby wanted to go pro someday, so he was always out in the driveway shooting hoops. But one day, his mom came out and told him, "Hey, your wife wants you to take out the trash." His mom was visiting, and Bobby was a grown man. He had kind of missed his window. Plus, no one had ever seen him actually make a basket. But on the other hand, Bobby had heard how Geico could save him money on car insurance, so he switched and saved. So it was all good.